Hello friends and neighbors, I'm the Scottish Reviewer. As many of you are aware, coming very soon to Bandgeek 8408, and by very soon I mean within a few days soon, is the Books vs. Movies Review musical. I know a lot of you have been clamoring for it ever since Matt promised to do it for his 2,000 subscriber challenge, and regular Matt and the Mad Hatter and myself, as well as possibly a few other people, have been working very hard on it these past few weeks. But when you are given the task of putting together a musical, you start to think about musicals in general and just how exactly they work. Let's face it, there are a lot of big fans of musicals out there, as evidenced by the fact that when asked for a 2,000 subscriber challenge, most of you overwhelmingly voted for a Books vs. Movies Review musical. But hard as it might be for some of you to believe, there are also a lot of people out there who don't like musicals. And I can see both points of view. I can understand why people love musicals because I love musicals myself, but I can also see why a lot of people don't like musicals because, let's face it, there are a lot of really bad musicals out there. And so I thought, since the Books vs. Movies Review musical is coming soon, we should take a look at musicals. Really take a look at them and figure out why they work. Or don't. Even though I probably should, I'm not going to bore you with the whole long history of music in theater because there's a lot of it, we don't have enough time, and I don't really know everything about it. But suffice it to say that musical theater is not just a creation of modern times. It has been around for millennia. Ever since the ancient Greeks and throughout history, the art of music and the art of theater have been very firmly integrated with each other. Which kind of makes one wonder why the music department and the theater department at my university can't get along with each other, but that's a topic for another time. So that's the first point to understand. Music has been a part of theater for a very long time. But why? Why have so many people throughout history felt it necessary to integrate these two arts? Well, for the same reason that music is a part of movies and television shows and just a part of our culture in general. Theater is a storytelling medium, and music has the ability to express that which is inexpressible through words or actions or visuals. This weird, ambiguous thing that we only just barely understand is able to express so much emotion and so much feeling and so much thought through the sheer simplicity of its existence. So of course, when you are telling a story, especially when you are telling a story in a visual medium, it makes sense to include music so that you can get a sense of what the tone is supposed to be. But this is the musical we're talking about. We're not just talking about background music, we're talking about people actually getting up and singing a song. And this, I think, gets into why so many people don't like musicals. I talked about this a little while ago, but one of the ways in which we judge the quality of a story now is by how realistic it is, how true to life it is. And musicals contain people bursting in to rehearse songs and choreograph dances, and people don't do that. So in our storytelling society, where we want stories to be so true to life that we can actually feel like we're living it, musicals just kind of rub against that concept. But I would argue that musicals can actually make your viewing experience in many ways more believable and more realistic. First of all, it's important to understand that when we talk about musical, we could be talking about one of two different things. If you're writing a stage play and you decide, hey, I want to make it into a musical and just insert songs wherever you feel like there should be a song, that's really not a musical. That's not what a musical is supposed to do. If the play can stand alone as a stage play, if it doesn't need the musical numbers, then it shouldn't have the musical numbers. One of the reasons why Oklahoma was so groundbreaking is because it was integrating the songs directly in with the story. The story could not stand without the songs. The songs actually pushed the story forward, and it's important to note that even though Oklahoma became famous for doing this, it wasn't the first to do this. Showboat was doing this long before Oklahoma came out, and even way before that, any Gilbert and Sullivan show does this really well. And nowadays, when you go to see a musical, if somebody is singing a song, there needs to be a reason for it. It needs to either push the story forward, or more often and more importantly, it needs to help us get a glimpse into a character's head. For the most part, songs and musical numbers, if a musical is functioning as I think a musical should function, should be telling us what a character is thinking or feeling. I want to give you 3 examples of musicals that do this really really, really well. First, you have Matilda the Musical. Yes, it is an actual thing. It's a West End musical playing in London, and it will, from what I hear, be coming to Broadway in spring of 2013. Roald Dahl's story Matilda, of course, has a lot of themes associated with it. And when you listen to the music of Matilda the Musical, which is excellent by the way, you get all of those themes through what the characters are thinking and feeling and what their opinions are. I haven't actually seen Matilda the Musical, I've only listened to the cast recording, but I still get a decent amount of the story from that recording. And if a musical is really functioning as it should and really has songs that are integrated in with the story and with the characters, then that should be the case. If you're just listening to the cast recording, even if you've never seen the stage production, you should still get a fair idea of what happens in the story. The second example is the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, which is another excellent and very underrated musical. And this is where I make my point about musicals being in their own way believable, because Putnam County Spelling Bee actually puts the audience in the action. The audience is a participant because the way it's written, you are not just watching a production about a spelling bee, you're actually watching a spelling bee. It's like you are the parents and fellow students and faculty at a spelling bee and you're watching this, but because you are the audience and because that fourth wall is still in existence, even though it's very tenuous, you get to see what the characters are thinking and feeling because largely of the musical numbers. When we break away to a musical number, we break away from the reality. We know that the musical numbers aren't actually happening, but this is our opportunity to look at what the characters are going through. And this actually harkens back to the opera, which for the most part is separated into recitatives and arias. Recitatives are the spoken dialogue. They're the stuff that's actually happening. It just happens to be sung. But the arias are there specifically so that the characters can sing about what they're thinking and feeling and going through. That's why arias exist, and that is, subsequently, why musical numbers in musicals exist. And finally, I want to look at an example from a musical writer who I think is making it his life's work to make everything into a musical. Joss Whedon. If you are a fan of the television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, then you are at least a little bit familiar with the musical episode that Joss Whedon wrote called Once More with Feeling. And this episode is brilliant, not just because it's a musical and a well-written one at that, but because it is believable in the universe that Joss Whedon has created, and also because it has to be a musical. That's the only way for the story of this season to progress. Basically, there is this demon in the Buffy universe who has made life into a musical, and so the characters and the extras and everybody is just kind of spontaneously bursting into songs and dances. But in these songs and dances, the characters are singing about their innermost emotions and thoughts and feelings. They're singing about the things, in other words, that they would not tell anybody else. And so because all of these deeply pent emotions and thoughts are coming to light, that is why the story is able to move forward from there, and why this overarching season 6 storyline is able to function. And again, that is what a musical should be doing. It should be pushing the story along. It should be bringing all of these thoughts and feelings from the characters to light, at least to the audience, and it should let us into their lives a little bit. And if they are doing their job, then there's no reason why the musical shouldn't be as believable as a musicless stage play. There's absolutely no reason why that can't be the case. If it's done poorly, well, then it becomes just really, really tedious and awkward. But that's my opinion of how musicals should function. If you agree with me or disagree with me or have any other insights to add, leave them in the comments or as a video response. I know I have a lot of musical fans out there, so please tell me what you think of musicals. And that's it from me. Until next time, I'm the Scottish Reviewer, and I have my own musical to put on, so take care. One.